Hello and welcome to the Record Club, brought to you by Record Store Day, the official charts and National Album Day, and proudly in association with Bowers and Wilkins. My name is Jess Iszatt. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very excited to say that our guest this evening is James Arthur to talk all about the brilliant new album, It'll All Make Sense in the End. If you're new to the Record Club, we're going to be spending the next half an hour talking to James all about the brilliant new record, and then we'll be putting some of your questions forward for him to answer. So if there is anything you'd like to know about the new record, whether it's about a certain song, the artwork, or a particular lyric that you've enjoyed, drop us a question in the comments section below, and we'll be asking a selection of them in the second half of our chat. On top of that, one lucky person today will be randomly selected to win a pair of Bowers & Wilkins PX7 over-ear noise-cancelling headphones, which is a pretty nice prize. Yeah, so you shouldn't miss out on that. Get your questions involved. I have the brand new record here in my hand. So if you haven't already picked up your own copy, make sure to head to your local record store and support the cause. We thoroughly recommend that you go pick one up as soon as our chat with James is over. So let's get straight into this week's Record Club, shall we? And say a big hello to James Arthur. James, how are we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm so excited that I've actually got this actual physical release in my hand. Feels really good.
Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good.
It's actually unbelievably shiny. When I took off the wrapping, I kind of wanted to put it back on again. Just felt like I was going to scratch it or something.
Yeah, it's looking in good condition. I've just been over at Banquet Records signing a fair few of them. So yeah, it's actually I signed a different. There's an alternative cover to that, but I prefer this one. I like this one. It's good.
What's the alternate cover?
It's just my ugly mug, like a massive, like.
Is it this one?
It's not. It's a bit more like front on, to be fair. But yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind the side profile, but front on, I'm a bit insecure about that. But yeah, no, I love that album cover. That's the one that's the most iconic, I think.
And when you're signing them, are you signing proper messages? Do you make a picture, or do you just sign your signature?
Yeah, well, these ones today were all personalized messages. So there was I think there was nearly 1,000 personal messages. I was there for a fair few hours. Maybe 500. I might be exaggerating there. But I've also signed, I think, about 30,000 over the course since August. I think, yeah, my house has just been full of them. There's, yeah, I've had a fair few to sign it.
Amazing. Okay, well, speaking of, being at record stores and stuff, each week we kick off the Record Club with a question from one of the many amazing independent record stores in the UK. And this week's question comes from Lion Coffee and Records in East London. And they want to know who would be in your dream band lineup on drums, bass, and guitar.
That's an amazing question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. So it's a tough one on drums. I reckon it'd be between Travis Barker and Keith Moon, but I'd probably go for Keith Moon from The Who because my dad brought me up listening to The Who. That's his favorite band, and Keith Moon was his idol, and he was so sad when he passed away. So yeah, probably go for Keith Moon on the drums. I'd probably go for Pino Palladino on the bass guitar. Obviously, he's played on D'Angelo records and plays on everything basically. And I was lucky enough to have his son in my band for a long while, who's arguably equally as good. So yeah, I'd go Pino on the bass. It's probably everyone's answer, to be fair. And then on the guitar, I think probably Jimi Hendrix. I'd probably go Jimi Hendrix or Prince. It'd be a toss-up between those two. Maybe we'll go Jimmy.
Oh, I was going to say, if it was a lineup that was still able to happen, then we'd try and put that out into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was could I do alive or dead. Yeah, they're all sadly in heaven. Yeah. Maybe what today? I don't know. That's a tough one. Am I allowed to go back in the
You're allowed to go back in time. It's fine.
Cool.
I'll let you have that.
Parameters on this question. I like it.
Big ups to Lion Coffee and Records. Thank you so much for your question. Of course, we have the album It All Makes Sense in the End, and we've been looking at this, the cover. I do want to know, what is this? Can you explain who this is? Obviously, we've got you on the front there, but can you talk to us about who this is?
Well, that little guy is he's played by a young lad called Curtis. It's just meant to sort of symbolize me as a kid. Um, the title being "It'll All Make Sense in the End" is kind of what I would probably say to the younger version of myself, like a bit of an ADHD kid, you know, super like just all over the place. And until recently, I kind of was like that. I mean, I think I'll always be like that in a way. And I think the best advice I can give anyone who struggles from time to time um, would be just to kind of live in the present. I know it's a bit of a cliche thing to say these days, but yeah. So in answer to your question, that's a very long-winded way of saying that. Yeah, Curtis is kind of this little moment here is symbolizing all that noise in the background, all that chaos, and the sort of post-apocalyptic vibe. Is yeah, it's I suppose it's meant to make this moment between myself and Curtis even more meaningful. It's a sort of quiet moment, me saying it'll all make sense in the end.
And that's the final wording of the album, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
final line in the last song.
hmm Yeah, I just thought it was a good way to resolve the album. It actually wasn't intentional, that really. Like I wasn't trying to crowbar that lyric into any of the songs. Like I like the idea of not having the album title in any of the songs, but it just lent itself so perfectly to that song when I was writing it.
It's funny because I was like listening through, and obviously sometimes you kind of look for the title track and it wasn't there, and then it just got to the end, and I was like, it will all make sense in the end. It was like this epiphany moment. So whether you did it on purpose or not, it fit nicely. Which song did you start this album with? Where did it all begin?
It started with Medicine, to be fair. That was the first sort of like songwriting session where it was sort of like it started out as a bit of a therapeutic thing for me, to be honest. I was like just gone through these weird few months, like everyone else in lockdown, um, just feeling a bit crap, to be honest, if I can say that. And yeah, it was like this. There was just like this pent up creative energy in the room, and myself and a couple of my mates, we just wanted to write this uplifting song you know, I wanted to touch on some of the darker things that I'd been going through in my personal life and in my head. Like I mentioned suicide in the song, and I always try and be as honest and as open as I can be in the songwriting, but the goal is to have an overarching thread of hope through it. So yeah, Medicine was just meant to be a kind of feel good banger anthem type thing.
And well, like you mentioned, you've been super vulnerable throughout the entirety of this album. Was it quite cathartic for you to write?
Yeah, it really was. Like I say, it was very cathartic because I was going through little bits of therapy and trying to figure out stuff. And again, going back to that the cover, the whole me talking to myself as a child thing being a theme was because I realized a lot of the sort of issues that I'd faced or roadblocks that I'd hit were due to unresolved childhood trauma in a way. And no amount of therapy was really going to get me over that hump, if you like. So music came along again, and writing songs came along and was sort of like a friend to me at that time. And but more so than any other record that I've made was cathartic for sure.
Um, so when I was listening, I know your songs, I know the ones that are already out, obviously. And then we get to like Wolves on the album, and then I'm listening to Deja Vu, and I'll be honest, when I first heard them, I thought that there was a feature on them, and I
Yeah.
was like, I was looking at the record, and I was just like on my Spotify as well. And I mean, you're rapping on there.
Yeah.
It's kind of got like these trap influences too. Was it something that you did a lot of experimentation with, and
Mm.
then you decided, yeah, actually, this is the route I want to go? or did you think about having a feature, or what was the thought process?
Well, actually, what was really exciting about this project was that I did set out to like make a coherent record that had the influences that I was sort of feeling at the time. Like I wanted to make a rock trap album. That was just sort of where I was at. That was fun to me. And obviously in the melting pot, there was like the artists that are kind of flying that flag certainly at that moment in time, you know, Juice World and like Post Malone, and I come from a sort of pop punk indie rock background. I was in bands that did that more rock thing and metal and stuff like that. So I've always loved that style of music, and I guess it was a bit of a passion project. And one of the ideas was like I wasn't gonna do any two verses the same as each other. I was gonna always try and approach them in a different way and like surprise people. And like Deja Vu, as you mentioned, like I thought, what would Travis Scott do if he was to feature on this song? And then it was fun just trying to kind of approach it like one of those artists maybe would. And of course, we thought about getting people on it, but it just felt like the standard version of the album anyway, being just me, definitely captured that moment in time. And it's, yeah, again, it's just a passion project that I really enjoyed making.
Do you have a personal favorite on this tune? Personal favorite song?
Wolves is probably one of my favorites. Last of the Whiskey is like I really love that. If I can say that about myself, I like the vocal on that one because it's quite raw and in your face. And it's one of the quieter moments on the album. There's obviously a lot of bells and whistles going on, a lot of trap and guitars and stuff. So that is like a nice little intimate moment on the record. Avalanche was fun because that was the only sort of acoustic thing. To be honest, I know it's a bit of a like. I keep going to swear. Can I swear on it? I can't swear. No.
I'm not really sure. I know I'm not allowed to.
You're not allowed to. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, it sounds a bit like wanky to say. I look at the whole as I look at the whole thing as a body of work that I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Were there any surprising fan favorites after the album dropped?
Take It or Leave It, the last song that we talked about, with the It'll All Make Sense in the End, is like really landed in the way that I'd hoped it would. Because I do think it was a perfect way to end the record. And a lot of people have kind of said to me when that part of the song comes in, that little confessional moment at the end, like it does take people by surprise. And like people have said that they got a bit choked up. And I always felt that whenever I listened to it before I released it, I was like, well, anytime it gets to that moment in the song, like I'm like, and I don't often sort of like feel like I could tear up when I'm listening to my own songs. But that I definitely felt that. So it's been really cool to see that in particular has been getting a good reaction.
And which song on this lineup went through the most change from start to finish?
Oh, that's a good question. What went through the most change? Do you know what? It's the ones on the deluxe album that have gone through the most change, and that might be why they never made well, not never made the standard, but weren't ready in time for the standard. But it would probably be Deja Vu, to be honest, because Deja Vu like stood out on the record as something that was a little bit different. And I wanted to have a guitar solo on it, and there was a bit of back and forth whether that was going to work for radio and stuff. And I just decided, you know what, I don't care if radio play it or not. Like, I just want to make a record that I love. So yeah, Deja Vu went sort of through a couple of transitions. Like it got sort of watered down a bit, and then I was like, nah, I just want the kitchen sink in this one. So yeah, probably that.
I think Deja Vu's. I've changed my mind a million times, but I think Deja Vu's up there as one of my faves. So I hope that radio decide to play it.
Yeah,
hopefully it'll get out there. I can see that people are getting their questions in. Remember, if you get your question in, it might get asked to James. So the music videos, I mean, they've all got completely different styles. I want to start with Emily. Emily is this song for me. Obviously, it's a sort of future letter to a daughter that you might have one day. But then the video made me so sad.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, I suppose it was kind of like billed as me writing a song to my future daughter, but I wasn't. And at first, I wasn't totally honest about what it really meant. Like, and to be honest, when I wrote the song at that particular time, having a kid was a real possibility for me. It was very real in my life, and sadly, it didn't work out. And I didn't think it was a good thing to talk about, but I was since encouraged to talk about it because it's a subject that isn't talked about very often. There's not a lot of information out there when people lose a child in the early stages of being pregnant and stuff. So um, I guess yeah, in the video it sort of obviously it kind of illustrates that in the video. You see Laura, who plays my girlfriend in that video, she sadly loses the child. It's a bit of a raunchy video as well, so it makes you feel all sorts of stuff. Like it's yeah, it's yeah. Again, it's another song that was quite personal.
Yeah. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we had September, which had a really, well, I mean, the video's funny.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I've got in my notes music videos jokes. Um, talk to me about that because it must have been a lot of fun to film.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because I thought the song was like very on the nose, like and probably the most pop record on the album. Um, and you know, it had that same formula as like Say You Won't Let Go or something. And like I wanted to dress it up in a cooler way than that, you know, because you could translate that song onto an acoustic guitar and it would be in that same world as Say You Won't Let Go or some of those other kind of love ballads that I've made before. And and so I was I can't do a video that's like again super on the nose. It had to be like I thought I want to make people laugh, and I love those old like emo rock videos like My Chemical Romance or like All American Rejects or like Fallout Boy. Like they made the you know they had those like rom-com videos that were always a bit like slapstick and or deadpan, and it was just important for me to make people laugh. So I found the perfect director for that, and we made a video about meeting the family, and the family turned out to be mobsters, which is just cool. And I've got to like whack people and stuff. So it was really fun to make.
No, that was good. That made me laugh a lot. And obviously you've got SOS too, which again is just like a whole another ball game. You must have been, I think I watched the behind the scenes video and you were just like, it's 4 a.m. and it's raining and we've been rained on like 4 times.
Yeah, oh my, that was truly suffering for the art. That one, I got rained on in a three-piece suit like 50 times, trying to get the shots. But it was I'm so proud of that video because it was something that it was something that I'd like imagined when I wrote the song. I was like I can see the video in my head and I really want to make this, even if it's not like this big single, even if it's like a soft release in some way. The video has to get made, and thankfully it happened because I love it. And thanks a big shout out to Casey Locke for helping me bring it to life.
It's funny when you have like a sort of movie within a 3 minute song and you're
Mm.
just like it's you've got all these people, but I mean it's so effective, so
Yeah.
it's great.
I've still got
Um
a cold from that video, I think. Like I've still got a chill.
every time you watch it you get a shiver.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, just scan. Yeah.
I can see people getting their questions in. So John Raby on YouTube says, awesome album. Who plays that amazing guitar solo in Deja Vu?
Well, I'd love to claim credit for I can play the guitar solo, but it was a friend of mine called Ben Jones, who's one of the best guitarists in the world. And like, it started out by just saying, like, I just shot it out. I just shot it to him. I was like, I fancy like a ridiculous guitar solo in here. And like, I gave him the sort of rough idea of what I wanted. And then he made it what it is. So I've had the really difficult task of like learning the guitar solo and because I had to play it in the music video, and it was tough. It's a tough one to play. It's really sick. But yeah, Ben Jones, check him out. Ben Jones Music on Instagram. He's class.
Emily McLaren on the Record Club's Facebook page says, would you say this is the best album to date with it being so meaningful?
Um, I don't know whether I could say it was the best album to date, just because like Back from the Edge has been like it's managed to make its way into like this classic album category because it's still sticking around today, like 5 years on, and still in like the global top 10 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's like done really, it's done really amazing things. I think largely due to the success of Say You Won't Let Go, um, and that album was like really special because it kind of did bring me back from the dead in terms of my career and stuff. So, and when I listen back to it, I feel like it's got a real quality to it. You know, there was no stone left unturned. Um, but this album probably means the most to me, and like I would definitely tick that box of making a record that sonically was coherent, and that's something I wanted to do. On previous albums, I've jumped around genres, and I'm doing like R&B one track, and I'm doing rock the next, and I'm doing pop the next, and like I just wanted to sort of prove to myself that I could make an album that had a sound, and if you're coming to me for that brand of music, then you'll get it from this one. And the subject matters in the songs are more personal than any other record, I think, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Danny Alenda on James's page says lots of artists have taken time to reflect on their careers. Do you think you'll continue making music or take a break for a while?
I've got this other album like in my like how do I say it? Yeah, it's like it's in me right now. So I'm gonna try and make it as soon as possible. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm thinking I'll probably step away for a little while. I think I've got other things I want to do in my life and stuff. So yeah, I've kind of made after this next album, I'd have made 3 albums back to back. So I'll have been in that cycle for like a long time now of like making records and promoting records, and it can be a bit taxing, can be a bit draining. So I think it'll be a good time for me to step away. So hoping maybe end of next year, early 23, I'd put out the next one, and then maybe go and try and be a Hollywood actor or something. I don't know.
I'd love that. What's the inspo at the moment? What are you thinking for this next album that you feel like you've got holding you at the moment?
I think there seems to be a bit of a demand within my fan base anyway for that, like back to my roots, like raw, musical, organic, just all about the vocals kind of album, like yeah, just a bit that raw, maybe like a slightly more acoustic album, because whenever I do acoustic versions of my songs, like they always get a lot of love, and I'm thinking maybe it's just time to make that album that kind of I don't want to say acoustic album because knowing me, I'll want to put some like mad synth or something, but I think it's time for that record. Yeah, this one was obviously very like it's got a lot of electronic influences, and it's big bells and whistles at times, and but yeah, I think it's time for that like muso album, if you like.
They want to hear you unfiltered. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. So I think it's my 5th album. It's going to be my masterpiece, and then I'll maybe peace out.
Don't say that. I don't want to hear the end on the record club. Karis O'Mahony on James's page says, what song are you most excited to play from the album next year?
Oh man, this whole album's going to kick off live, I think, just because of the nature of it being like rocking. So I think Deja Vu is going to kick off. I think Wolves, SOS probably is going to be the one that is going to be the most like anthemic. I played it acoustically last night in Kingston, and all the fans like did this amazing thing where they lifted up banners that said "You saved me," and it was like this. I was welling up while I was singing it. So obviously it means a lot to.
It's made me emotional now, just thinking about it.
It was a beautiful moment, and I guess like that's a good indicator that like the fans have taken that one to their hearts, and so I can't wait to play it for them.
Janet Robson on the Record Club's page says, do you ever draw on lyrics that you've written ages ago and never used, or is the album all new lyrics?
There was parts of the rap within the song Ride, which is another one actually live is going to be great because that's like a proper, I think it's like 22 bar rap or something. I don't know. Maybe it's only 16 bars. I can't actually remember. But yeah, there was some bits of that I'd written previously, not too long ago. But it fit perfectly in that song, so I kind of regurgitated it.
I actually have a bit of it here. which I quite liked. You know, you said, yeah, I'm living it up to get me out of my mind, because it's my blood rushing through my veins. I feel numb when I hear them say my name. Yeah, I'm living it up, but I'd leave it all behind. Is that true?
Um, well, the sort of vibe of the song, sort of like, you know, when you're like into someone, I guess, like you, I guess the essence of the song is like, yeah, I'm like, I've lived this rock and roll life where like I like numb myself or self-medicate, or like I'm around fake friends, or I've got all this money and this like whatever stuff now. Like I'm saying I'd leave it all behind just to go for a drive with you, essentially, or ride with you, which can have other connotations as well. That makes sense. Yeah.
Always so cheeky. Right, Geraldine Bedford on the Record Club's page says, I read that you would love to write the theme for the next James Bond movie. Is that true?
Yeah, of course. Like who wouldn't? What artist wouldn't want to be in the mix for James Bond? I did a song on Back from the Edge called Back from the Edge, and like a lot of people said that could have been like a Bond thing. It had a Bond theme to it, and I enjoyed doing that style of music. So yeah, I'd be up for it for sure.
That would be great. Put that into the atmosphere.
In the universe, yeah.
So I know that you wrote that tune with Ella Henderson, Let's Go Home Together.
Yeah.
How come you didn't end up on it? How come it was Tom Grennan instead?
Uh, um, well, because the timing wasn't right for me, and they didn't really want to like, and I didn't want to keep holding it back. It'd been in the like in the ether for a couple of years, and like Ella wanted to release it at one time and I couldn't do it, and then there was another time when I wanted to release it and they couldn't do it, and they asked for my blessing in the end because they were like, we really want to put this record out, like we believe in it. And I was about to drop Medicine, and it just, yeah, I felt like it was a bit too much of a departure from the project that I was doing at the time. I wanted to focus on my record, so I didn't want to hold it back anymore. So I said, yeah, go for it, and it did really well. Would it have done better if I was on it? I'm joking. I'm joking.
We'll never know. We'll never know. Well, thank you so much, James, for joining us on the Record Club today. That's all. That's all we have time for. So, thank you so much. Obviously, guys at home, if you haven't already, get a copy of It Will All Make Sense in the End. I love mine, so you should definitely get involved. Order it from your local record store. I'm also, before we leave, very excited to announce that the winner of this week's Bowers and Wilkins Wireless Headphones Prize is Danny Ellender on James's page. So please slide into the Record Club's DMs and we'll get those headphones to you. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and sending in your questions. Our next guest is going to be announced on the Record Club's social media very soon. Make sure you're following us. Plus, of course, all previous episodes are available to watch back on our YouTube channel. James Arthur, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jess. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank